Welcome on into the Fantasy Football Forge Week 8. Quarterbacks and tight ends. Stay tuned between the two positions. I will give you a heads up on how you could potentially walk away this soon. I almost gave it away. With a $10 gift card as a thank you. As a promotion to help get over 1,000. We went over 900 this past week subscribers on the channel, so that's awesome. I appreciate it so very much, and an extra special thank you to my members. And members, you will get an extra special entry into that if you are if you make yourself available soon for that. I'll give the details a little bit later in the video. Like I said, between the quarterbacks and the tight ends. For now, we're going to be going over the quarterback rankings for Week 8. You can see the projections up on the screen. You can also find these tables to look at it closer up on the website, www.theFFforge.com. Links down in the description. They're working. I am currently at a courthouse, probably, unless I got lucky, and last night when I called, I was not needed to serve, but yeah, we'll see if I get a trial or not. But I can tell you, I'm probably bored as heck right now as you're watching this video, or for quite a few of you. If you like your rankings to be just a little bit more crisp and clean to look at, you can just click on this little tab up on the website. It's there too, and then you get these little, these rankings like this. But this is what we're going to be looking at in the video. Red is good, blue is bad. Let's get on to this first tier, which goes from my quarterback 1 through my quarterback 5, kicking it off with Lamar Jackson. I'm currently ranking Jaden Daniels as if he is going to play, and if he does, not a great matchup there against Chicago, as you can see over here. I do have some of these teams color-coded red or green, red, in terms of a good matchup or a bad matchup. In this instance, green is going to be good, which makes red bad. So Jaden Daniels in a tough matchup against Chicago, definitely, but of course he does so much of the great work with his feet, and I don't know, with the rib injury, maybe I'm a little too high on him. Maybe I'll have to lower him a little ways, but it's probably doesn't matter for most people. I think you can play Jaden Daniels if he's playing. Jordan Love in a good matchup against Jacksonville. We love it. Look to see Love continue his great fantasy year so far. Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen to wrap this tier up as your quarterback 5. That's going to bring us on to the second tier here, which goes from my quarterback 6 through 8, kicking off with Joe Burrow, followed by Sam Darnold and Brock Purdy to wrap this tier up. So these are still guys that we're going to feel quite comfortable with. Maybe don't provide as good of a ceiling as these top 5 had so far in the season, but they're still solid plays, and they're not in bad matchups, which, I can see. We're about to see a team in a bad matchup here in this next tier. Right at the top, Kyler Murray there. In my third tier, which goes from quarterback 9 through quarterback 14, and that kicks off with Kyler Murray. Going against Miami, a bottom 5, I believe, defense. And I think it was just the top 3 good matchups and bottom 5 bad matchups that got highlighted over there on the right-hand side of the screen. So yeah, that is a tougher matchup. Baker Mayfield, Caleb Williams, I do have highlighted because I'm quite a ways different on him than the ECR. Otherwise, not too different than ECR in a lot of these instances. CJ Stroud, Kirk Cousins, Geno Smith. Still a tier we're feeling pretty comfortable with, but it does start to get into some areas of concern or even hope for better days or a better week here with like Kirk Cousins. I could see moving him up ahead of CJ Stroud here. You can see CJ Stroud nearly kind of in a sit type of situation this week against Indianapolis if they weren't a worse matchup. But Caleb Williams, I am low on compared to the ECR, so I did want to point that out. He's another option that I could see going higher on him, lower on Baker, lower on Kyler. Baker, missing a lot of weapons. I am already lower. He would have been in those top 5 easily, if not top, 4, whatever, this week if he had all of his weapons. But without his weapons, that it doesn't help things out. And I definitely do not expect to see as good of a Baker Mayfield as we have had, but I still think he has the potential to be quite good for fantasy, on that higher end of the streamer type of options, or the keeping him on the roster and playing him with somebody else types of options. But Caleb Williams going against Washington, obviously understandable why people are going to be high up on that. I'm still, not 100% bought in that Caleb Williams is like a stud so far or already on the field. But this will help. It's another good matchup. So once we see it against a bad matchup, then I'll for sure believe it. That's gonna bring us on to this next tier. Quarterbacks 15 through 18. We have Jared Goff going up against Tennessee. Not a great matchup. Dak Prescott going up against San Francisco. As you can see, the projections, the floor has not been great for Dak so far this season, but there is still an opportunity for Dak to have a nice day here. Patrick Mahomes is going to be my first fade. If you're not familiar, my fades and my loves are something that I go through every week, which reminds me, we've got to check on how I did last week for my quarterback loves and fades. And for my love, I picked Drake May. I don't think I was on an island with that one. He finished as the quarterback 6. It did not require a degree in rocket science to figure that love out. And for the fades, I faded Justin Fields, who, he didn't even play. He was so bad. So good fade by me. No, obviously that didn't really count. So I went 1 for 1 there. But this week we're going to fade Patrick Mahomes. Hopefully he is playing this week. He's going to have DeAndre Hopkins. That should help a little bit. That's great. Going against Las Vegas. Sorry about that. Not a terrible matchup, That's great. DeAndre Hopkins, however, is not like... he's going to be, I think, a nice real-world asset for this offense, but he's not what's going to make Patrick Mahomes just all of a sudden a stud top 10 quarterback. He, so far on the season, has been the EV quarterback 18, EV equalized value. Just takes consistency into account with the rankings of how they've done this season. So, average at best, essentially, maybe even a little bit below average, if anything, as far as a fantasy player. And that's what matters here. So I just wanted to highlight Patrick Mahomes and let you know that it is okay to sit Patrick Mahomes. He's a much better real-life football player than he is a fantasy football player this year because of all the injuries surrounding this offense. That happens sometimes. There's no need to feel obligated to play him just because of his name if you have a better option available. That said, this is not like the worst week in the world to go out and play him, but don't overrate him either. He has not been great this season. That's going to bring us on to this next tier of quarterbacks, going from my quarterback 19 all the way down to my quarterback 27. Kicks off with Aaron Rodgers, followed by Russell Wilson, Bo Nix, Drake May, Jameis Winston, Anthony Richardson, Trey Lawrence, Matthew Stafford, and Justin Herbert. And a lot of this tier are very interesting spot start types of situations. You can see with the limited sample size for Russell Wilson, the world is his oyster. The ceiling is there. The floor is also quite low. What will it be? Who knows? Bo Nix, really, really good matchup. He's actually been pretty good for fantasy purposes, but still does have that pretty low floor. Drake May, another limited sample size, so we kind of don't want to look at these projections too closely because it's very limited, and he's had 2 good matchups. Now he's going to have a really, really rough matchup, hence the ranking. Jameis Winston, very, very limited sample size. I do not believe I used his historical data. I think I just used his this year data, which was extremely limited, but a really good matchup against Baltimore, and we know, what Jameis Winston's arm can do in terms of a ceiling, so you just never know there what might come of that. Wish he had some better weapons overall to throw it to, though. Anthony Richardson, we've all seen it this year. He still projects with that ceiling because of the potential, but typically he's been falling below that potential. Trevor Lawrence going up against Green Bay. That offense has been a little bit better. Green Bay, not exactly the worst matchup in the world. And that brings us to Matt Stafford, who is in a decent matchup here against Minnesota. It's an above-average matchup for opposing quarterbacks. He is my love of the week. He will have Cooper Kupp back to some extent, and I suspect to a fairly extreme extent, not highly limited. I'm going to be throwing a Hail Mary in deeper leagues. I figured that I could do worse. I think that Stafford could have a good week. If you're sitting there and you you're not willing to play Kyler Murray this week. You got the worst feeling about it in the world. You're looking at your waiver wire. It's pretty dry. You want to take a Hail Mary on somebody, sure, go right ahead. Take it with Matt Stafford. I think the upside is definitely there in this matchup. And then Justin Herbert finishes it up against New Orleans this week. So, his ceiling, at least, it fits here in terms of the projections. Daniel Jones, Andy Dalton in this next little tier, both in really tough matchups this week, so that does not help anybody there. And then Spencer Rattler, Mason Rudolph, Gardner Minshew, just holding up the back end here. Guys who we'd rather not have to be playing. If we could avoid it, that would be fantastic. That's going to bring us on to the tight end rankings. But before we get to these rankings for the tight end position, I just want to, just a reminder, first of all, use the comment section down below. Ask me any questions about any start-sit questions that you have. Sure, any disagreements with the rankings or agreements, I'll take that too. But if you have somebody you think I'm too high, too low on, let me know, and preferably let me know why. What is it about them this week that you think, or just in general that you think, hey, you're just a little too low on them. And I will definitely give it more thought in terms of my ranking with them. Wouldn't be the first time that somebody else's advice, whatever, insight hasn't changed my overall opinion on someone. I'm always open to listening. So heads up on that. Also, that $10 giveaway. I know, I'm making it sound like it's $100. It's not. It's $10. But it's my appreciation token to you guys, once again, to help also promote getting up to 1,000 subscribers for the channel, and a thank you. So this Saturday, you come for the live. It starts at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time this week. And I'm going to have instructions pinned, to the comments section that'll say to do a certain hashtag in the chat alone, preferably, so I see it for sure. I will record that. If you're a member, you're going to get a second entry. And the instruction will be that either at 9 or 9:30, I will be hosting the raffle. I will be putting all the names onto like a digital wheel and spinning it, and you gotta be there to win it. So if we have to spin it more than once, we'll spin it more than once, and then we'll get a winner. So that's how it's gonna roll. And then after that, I'm just gonna need you to email me. I'll obviously provide that information in the description of the video, and then I'll hook you up with that prize. So there we go. That's the announcement. Once again, thank you extra much, members. You can find all of these rankings up on the website, www.theFFforge.com. I appreciate you all. Let's get up to 1,000. I feel like I'm missing announcing something in this video, but who knows? Those are the most important things. Let's get on to this first tier of tight ends, which starts off at tight end 1 with George Kittle, of course. He's just been that dude. And so has Brock Bowers, my tight end 2, who is looking to take over tight end 1 against George Kittle there. Very, very much. The floor is good. The issue here is the ceiling, and George Kittle going up against Dallas. You could see the ceiling getting hit in that game. So there we go. That's what we're going to on to. My wide tight end 3 is Trey McBride this week, followed by David Njoku. Hey, he did get quite a few more targets. We'll see if that continues or not. The floor is still a little bit concerning from him, but that is, including everything across the season. And then Jake Ferguson going against San Francisco this week, just like the opposite side. Definitely could rely on him a fair bit. And Evan Ingram will finish off my first tier of tight ends. Guys who I am just putting out there, no questions asked, for sure. Going up against Green Bay, it should be a good tight end matchup. That did not come through last week, but even with that, they're still in the top 10. Top 9 tight ends are highlighted here in green, and the bottom 3 are highlighted in red. And that just has to do with how the point desperation, kind of goes in determining where is that drop off from the good to the above average kind of, and from the bad to the below average. So that's going to bring us on to the second tier of tight ends, from tight end 7 all the way on down to tight end 13. Perfect. That fits on the screen. We're going to have my tight end 7, Kyle Pitts, kicking off this tier, followed by Travis Kelce, Tucker Kraft, Cole Kmet, Cade Otton, Sam Laporta, Dalton Kincaid. And you could really take this group, shuffle it up any which way that you want, and you can see more really good matchups. So this is potentially going to be a nice week for tight ends. I mean, a lot of the guys who we already like are also in good matchups. None of them are in bad matchups. So this is shaping up well. A guy like Cade Otton could get utilized more. That is taken into account for his projections, the potential of that extra utilization. And, Cole Kmet's done well. I still don't know how much I trust that with Keenan Allen there in terms of his viability week in and week out. But it has, at this point in time, it looks pretty good against Washington, too. That's pretty nice. And so, there we go. But I got to let you know how I did last week for my loves and fades before we talk about Sam Laporta, my love of the week for week 8 here. And last week, I loved Dalton Schultz. He went up against Green Bay. I made a side comment about that being a disappointing tight end result last week, and it was. I think this was a big mistake by Bobby Slowick. Look, listen to me, Bobby. That was a weakness that you should have been attacking when you think about what was killing you. The pass rush was killing you. You drop it off to Dalton Schultz a little bit more, whereas already a weakness in the Green Bay's defense in terms of covering tight ends, and I think that really would have helped to offset that pass rush. So I stand by my, wanting to take Dalton Schultz. It sucks that it was such a horrible performance. And for my fade last week, it was Dalton Kincaid who finished as the tight end 20. So I think the process was still sound for my love, just didn't work out. And for my fade, it did work out. Tight end 20 for Dalton Kincaid, who's... I got him in a league. I'm still just kind of rolling with them. Luckily, hey, it's a better matchup this week, so hopefully that'll help things out. But Sam Laporta is the guy who earns my love this week, and I'm just here trying to give good vibes to the man, to the Laporta owners. These next 2 weeks are going to be your chance, with Jameson Williams being gone, for Laporta to have, show you what he's got for a little bit at least, hopefully. That's going to bring us on to this next tier of tight ends, which goes from my tight end 14 through 21. We've got Hunter Henry going up against New York Jets. Zach Ertz, I thought maybe he's going up against Seattle there in a good matchup. Zach Ertz, Mark Andrews in a tough matchup going up against Cleveland there. My fade of the week, followed by Noah Fant. I think we could argue to get him up ahead of Mark Andrews, but with the slight revitalization of Mark Andrews. It's tough. I had to ask myself, if I had both Noah Fant and Mark Andrews, who would I actually start? I think I would still start Mark Andrews, but I won't be surprised if Noah Fant outscores him. Pat Freiermuth here in a tough tight end matchup against the New York Giants. Once again, bottom 3. Jonnu Smith, Kobe Parkinson, Taysom Hill wraps this tier up at your tight end 21. And this is, once again, it is a tier where you can just kind of shuffle these guys within the tier whatever way you want and start that guy. There's not a huge difference from Hunter Henry to Taysom Hill. Hunter Henry, though, definitely one of the guys who is on the borderline here of the tiers. That being said, Mark Andrews is a fade. If you've been sitting him, this is not the week to chase his recent production and all of a sudden start him. Yes, he has been producing much better, but he's still being asked to block enough that his opportunities are still quite limited. Over the past 3 weeks, he's seen 5, 4, and 4 targets, which for the tight end is not the worst thing in the world, but it's still tough to live off of in terms of being, ranked higher than roughly where we've got him ranked. It is also much better than the 2 targets, 5 targets, 1 target that we saw through the first 4 weeks, respectively. To give you an idea, over the last 2 weeks, the 4 targets for Mark Andrews, you've also seen 4 targets for Isaiah Likely in each of those 2 weeks, and he hasn't done anything with those, of course. 3 touchdowns over the past 2 weeks is what has helped to prop up Mark Andrews' production. And, that's one of the tougher things to rely on. You like to see those targets be higher rather than the touchdown total be higher in terms of projecting forward, not in terms of having played a guy. Now, Cleveland is one of the best teams against the tight end position, and this is definitely a matchup where it could make sense to ask for Mark's help along the offensive line. If you're at Baltimore, thinking about that pass rushing duo in Cleveland, Zadarius Smith and Myles Garrett. So, to me, kind of trying to stick away from Mark Andrews if I can this week. But also, if you've been starting him, just keep starting them, ride the hot hand. All right, that is almost it. Other tight ends here: Isaiah Likely in at tight end 22, Tyler Conklin, Will Dissly, Dalton Schultz, Dallas Goedert, both in top 9 tight end matchups, so that's great for them. Dallas Goedert, don't know that he's going to be playing. And TJ Hawkinson, if he does play, I was doing this and then I got distracted. If TJ Hawkinson does play, going up against the Rams is a top 9 matchup. I think would I start him over Dalton Kincaid? I believe I have that decision to make in a league. I don't know that I would. I think I would have to put him at like tight end 18 this week, right behind Noah Fant, and hope that it goes well. And then I'll feel comfortable playing him next week. All right, that is it for the tight ends, for the quarterbacks. Thank you so very much. I appreciate you all. And please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It all always helps. All right, peace out.